Hello, welcome back to Lilies and Tomatoes. We are at my desk again and we are talking about common tomato diseases. There are actually a lot of diseases that tomatoes can get, but we're just going to be talking about the most common ones and how to treat them. If we have not met yet, my name is Quincy Adams and I want to help you grow some of your own food in a small space on a budget. Let's get started. Okay, so the first couple that I'm going to show you, I'm going to lump together because they're all pretty much caused by the same thing. So early blight, this picture right here is early blight. You're going to get these like circular brown spots on your leaves. The next one, oops, too far. Oh, there's not a picture for the next one. Next one is late blight. It's basically the same thing. And then the third one is leaf spot. So leaf spot is going to be smaller spots, dark spots with like yellow around them. And these are all caused by fungus. And that is generated when the temperatures are high and the humidity is high. So when you're feeding your tomato plants, you want to make sure that you're not watering the whole plant. Don't wet the leaves, just water the ground right at the base of the plant. You want to also, as your plant grows up, take off the bottom leaves. It's not going to hurt the plant. So once the plant gets about 3 feet high, start cutting the leaves that are close to the ground because those are the ones that are going to be hit with blight or spot first. And also the older leaves are going to get blight or spot. So as the season goes on, then the older leaves are going to be the ones that are going to get it first. So you want to make sure that you're keeping that clean and you're keeping a good airflow around your plant. So if the plant is too dense, you let it get too wild, then the air is not going to be able to move in and around the plant, and then you're going to start to have issues. So blights and spots are caused by fungus and humidity. Let's go to the next one. This is a wilt. This is caused by bacteria. This is bad. If you have some kind of bacterial wilt on your tomatoes are done. Yank them out, destroy them. Do not compost them. It spreads quickly. You want to destroy the plants, and then that would be a situation where you would definitely want to practice crop rotation. I grow in containers, so ordinarily I don't do any kind of crop rotation because it's not really necessary. But if you had something like this, you would want to make sure that you completely take out all the plants and any plants similar to tomatoes out of that area and make sure you grow something completely different there in that same spot for 3 years. Bacterial wilt is not something that you can fix easy. It's very contagious. That would definitely be a situation where you would want to destroy your plants, and you can treat with you can disinfect all your stuff with bleach. You definitely, bacterial wilt, if the whole thing just wilts and it doesn't recover, then I'm sorry, your tomatoes are done. Okay. Blossom end rot is probably one of the most common problems that people get on their tomatoes, and it is completely preventable. So like the first thing you want to do to treat your plants is preventative, not treating. So what you want to do when you're planting them, you want to test the soil if you're planting in ground. You want to make sure that the pH is in the 6.8 to 7 range. Use lime if it's not. If you're unsure or if you're planting in containers, just use some lime in advance. It will save you a lot of hassle down the road. The problem is the plant is not able to get calcium out of the soil because the pH is not correct. And if the plant can't get calcium out of the soil probably has calcium. But if you did a soil test, you would know for sure. But it's the lack of calcium in the plant, not necessarily lack of calcium in the soil. So if you put some calcium and lime in the soil when you plant. I like to use gypsum and lime, dolomite or dolomitic lime. If you see that in the big box stores, that's also a good thing to use. Do it in advance. That will prevent a lot of issues. And if you see blossom end rot on your tomatoes after you've done that, then you know it's just an uneven watering issue. To balance out water, you can use mulch to make sure that the water in the ground or water in your container is held in the soil longer around the tomato, and it keeps the roots cooler, so it's not running through water too much. Uneven watering, if you use calcium and lime on your tomato and then you see blossom end rot, it's a watering issue. Just pull those fruit off. Those are not going to be edible. They're not going to heal. They're not going to ripen and be okay. Just pull them off, and the plant can continue to make regular tomatoes that are completely fine after it's had some blossom end rot issues. It can recover. If you did not use any kind of lime or calcium in advance, and then you see blossom end rot on your tomato plants, you can add lime and calcium at that point. But depending on what kind of lime you use, it's going to take different amounts of time to absorb. So it's better to just use lime and calcium in advance, and then if you see it, if you've already treated, then it's just a watering issue. Just take those fruit off, and it's going to be okay. You can completely recover from that. There are different sprays that you can use. There's a foliar calcium spray that you can use, but I prefer to not always be like spraying my plants. That's just my personal preference. So I like to just use calcium and lime when I plant, and that way, if I see a little bit of blossom end rot, I know it's not going to be all the fruit. It's just because of watering. I will be more careful with my watering in the future and take those fruit off. The next one is blossom drop. So what you'll see when this happens, see right here, there is there was a flower in here, and then the yellow part fell out. Let's see if I can magnify this so you guys can see it better. Okay, so tomatoes like warm weather, but not super hot weather. So when the temperatures are up above 90 degrees, it can just be too much for the tomatoes. So the tomatoes will set flowers, and then the flowers will drop, and they won't get pollinated, and there'll be no fruit. And that's just a function of the temperature. That's another reason why I use sunshades in my garden. Right now, we are in a heat wave in Maryland, and so I put, as soon as it goes above 90 degrees for more than a day, I put the sunshades up to protect the plants. They're still getting sun. The sunshades that I have block out about 40% of the sun. So it's like it's less sun, but they're indirect sun, and they can handle the mottled sun with the sunshades. So they're great if you can use them. If you have a smaller garden, it's a good option. Cracking, the next one. This isn't a disease. This is from uneven watering. So if you've got tomato plants and you get a lot of rain, then they're going to swell up with too much water. If it's been if you have 3 days in a row where it's 90 degrees, and then all of a sudden it pours, and then they're going to go from being dehydrated to being oversaturated, and then if the next day it's 90 degrees again, they're going to dehydrate again. So all of the changes in water are going to expand and contract the fruit, and it can crack. If it's a little crack, it'll generally heal over, and the fruit is still okay, but those cracks can be a place for bugs or different kinds of fungus or bacteria to get into the fruit, so just watch it. And if you see your fruit starting to crack and it's not quite ripe yet, you can take it off and ripen it in the house. So that's what I do when I see this a lot. If it's on a cherry tomato, then I'm just going to pick it off and throw it over my fence. But if it's on a bigger tomato, then I'm generally going to pick them early and ripen them in the house and hope for the best. This is Sunscald, and this literally means that your tomato got a sunburn. It's too much direct sun on your fruit. So if you've been pruning your tomatoes and you pruned a little bit too much, then this can happen. or if there's just too much heat and too many high temperatures, this can happen. So sunshades would be a good option. Being a little bit more strategic with your pruning is another option. You definitely, I mean, pruning is a good thing for tomatoes because they need airflow, but if you prune it too much and it's just a single stem and your fruit is all exposed and you're in an area with high temperatures, then you're potentially going to sunburn your fruit. So that's just one of the common diseases. And then the last one that I'm going to talk about is poor fruit set. So, and this is also, wow, I just lost my train of thought. This is caused by too much nitrogen in your fertilizer. So when you fertilize your plant, you want to use either something that's balanced or something with a lower first number. So you know how that's like, I usually get something that's like 10, 10, 10 or 12, 12, 12, which is just general purpose fertilizer for all of my plants. I do sometimes use just bone meal or just blood meal, depending on what the plant needs. If your plant is setting fruit, it needs more potassium. That's the second number. And so you don't want to use something that's super high in nitrogen. That will also give you a lot of foliage and not a lot of fruit. And if you get fruit, then you're going to get a poor fruit set. So you can see that there's more stems here, but not more fruit. Most tomatoes set clusters of fruit. Some tomatoes set like insane clusters of fruit. So you want to be careful with giving your plant too much nitrogen. Nitrogen is not the best thing for all plants. That's all. Those are the main issues that I wanted to discuss today. If there are no questions, then I will let you guys go for today. I am cooking up something else in my main workshop, so I hope to be able to show it to you guys on Tuesday. Have a good weekend. Bye.